if you look at what he's going to experience, and we will as President of the United States, and the stress of it all, you have here this shock time and time again. But if you look at what's going on in his personal life, oh my God, it's just horrific. One tragedy after another. And it follows him and follows him and follows him throughout his entire life. No exceptions. The worst of the worst, time and time again, it seems as though Abraham Lincoln, sadly, is going to experience it. Well, his father, in 1831, decided that the family here was going to move. It was going to move yet again. This time they were going to be moving from Indiana Territory, or from Pigeon Creek, Indiana, to Illinois and to New Salem. And Lincoln is going to go with his father, still being the dutiful son, helping out in the fields, working as a rail splitter. He's hoping that he can still use his scow business on the side, which could bring him in a little bit extra cash, and indeed it certainly did. And in 1831 here, Thomas Lincoln is there for about 2 years, and he decides, nah, I don't want to stay here anymore, and the family's going to pack up and move again. His son Abraham tells him, Dad, I'm not coming. I'm staying here in New Salem. I'm going to pursue opportunities. I know you're going on to Decatur, Illinois, not far from here. We'll stay in touch. Who knows? Maybe in fact I'll join you. Initially they're going to go back to Indiana. They stayed in fact in Illinois. Well, for Lincoln now living in New Salem, he's going to remain, he's 22 years of age. He is going to remain there for a good couple of years to follow. And he's going to get a job in a dry goods merchandise store. So it's kind of like a grocery store that you would go to for supplies, you know, in the 19th century. Yes, the food would be sold there. They'd be selling all sorts of different housewares, things fairly, very basic across the board. And he's working here at this merchandise store. The gentleman who owned the store was his Denton Offutt. But from the standpoint here, what Lincoln found himself more interested in is that it was easier than splitting rails, that's for sure, but he found himself being very interested in the customers and the people who came in. And he was more focused on talking with them, and especially in terms of talking about the politics of the day, or what is going on here in the western frontier, both locally and at a much, much larger level. Well, here, as this would continue, he became all the more interested in people, and especially in public service, especially here as well in public service. And in 1832, the Black Hawk War effectively breaks out here in Illinois, carries over as well into Wisconsin territory. And the Black Hawk War, what you have here with these settlers is the issue is that the Native American tribes see them as infringing on their tribal lands. In fairness, that's exactly what was happening. Okay? So you have, in essence, here in this nation of immigrants, the United States, which it is up to including the present day, all of us, or our ancestors, whether willing or unwilling, were transported from some other place on planet Earth. And the only true Americans are Native Americans. Well, Native Americans are going to be pushed off the eastern seaboard, going back to the 13 original colonies, back west of the Appalachians. Then as you have more and more newcomers arriving beyond the colonial Americans in the early 19th century, you have the old immigrants. Well, you've got possibilities for land, for farming, to make a life, to make a living west of the Appalachians, in the frontier area, all the way up to the Mississippi. Well, the problem is you have countless Native American tribes in these areas too. Well, the Black Hawk War would take 3 Native American tribes, the Sauks, the Meswakees, and the Kickapoos, and tie them together under a Sauk leader by the name of Black Hawk. And what the Native Americans had been promised in an 1804 treaty, the Treaty of St. Louis, they had been promised here that this land in Illinois was going to be theirs indefinitely. Well, people are moving in, the settlers are moving in, and they're taking this land. The net result, therefore, is going to be war. Well, the United States government sends word to these territories and to these also newly minted states, requesting volunteers to fight against these three Native American tribes, to help them repulse this invasion. And Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, here is going to volunteer. He's going to volunteer in 1832 to fight in the Black Hawk War. But the Black Hawk War, in fairness, on the outset, the cause is hopeless for these three Native American tribes. They're going to be significantly outnumbered. They don't have, in terms of the weaponry that's anywhere near advanced, that the volunteers, so to speak, who are being armed as well by the federal government will have. It's a cause here that there simply is no way that they could win or even hope for some sort of negotiated end to this. Well, for this war, Lincoln is going to volunteer, and he's going to be elected here by members of his group, of his contingent, so his regiment, so to speak, elected as captain. This is very, very good. It helped him to build his self-confidence. And he saw absolutely zero action in this Black Hawk War, spent actually some time in Wisconsin. But by the same end, the war would come to an end in a matter of a few months. And for his volunteerism and for his patriotism here in joining the war effort on behalf of the U.S. federal government, he received $125 for his military service, which was a good sum of money in 1832. And what he decides to do is he decides here in the aftermath of this Black Hawk War, he decides to see if maybe politics might be something of interest for him. And the reason being is that he enjoyed people. He enjoyed talking about issues and events facing here, both local settlers as well as the nation itself as the 19th century progressed, and thought that, well, I'll see. And he decides, in essence, to run for the state legislature from Sangamon County. Now, Sangamon County is the county here that, in fact, is going to house New Salem. Well, he's going to be one of 13 candidates who will be running for this seat in the Illinois State Legislature. He's known in New Salem, but he's not known anywhere outside of New Salem. And of these 13 candidates, despite the fact that he tried campaigning and tried to get to know people a lot better, he loses resoundingly. He finishes 8th out of the 13. Well, he decides, therefore, that he can try again. He's not discouraged. But he learned a lot from the experience. He's got to be better prepared. He's got to see more people. He's got to shake more hands, so on and so forth. But more importantly here, he needs a job. Well, his last job, the Offutt store, had formally closed at the end of 1832. So he didn't have that. He did not have that. I don't know what that happened there. Right? It's on my screen.
Hit it one more time to go forward one more time. Just, no.
There you go.
There it is.
Technology. Well, here, what happens is he's going to go here, he takes his money, his $125, and he is going to actually go into business. He's going to go into business with this gentleman by the name of William Berry. And they're going to open a dry goods business that's also going to sell liquor out on the frontier. And Abraham Lincoln was not a big drinker at all. In fact, had very, very little interest in it. What Abraham Lincoln enjoyed here with this general store that he's opening with William Berry, what he enjoyed is he enjoyed talking